see them progress from, not really being able to swim particularly well to doing 9 kilometers of swimming and 30 kilometers of running is really kind of like humbling from a personal perspective. I know mine feels the same. Sometimes you get goosebumps from watching these guys come over the finish line at the end, and that's an amazing feeling, worth more than any kind of money.
Welcome to the Low Tide Boys, a Swimrun podcast. I'm Chip.
I'm Chris, and this is episode 123 of the show. We have a great show for everyone this week. Joining us in Studio G is John Yelland, one of the founders of Mad Hatter Sports and organizer of the upcoming Hokey Cokey Swimrun taking place on May 21st in Cornwall, United Kingdom. This was a great interview filled with lots of laughs, a feel-good origin story, and of course, swimrun content. I mean, obviously, right?
Hashtag UK fam.
Yeah.
Getting some love.
Yeah.
Getting some love.
But first,
training update. So we're back at it. We took a light break from training after Swimrun Lake James. Now we're up in the swim volume, and then we're up in the run volume, and then now we're up in the swim volume again, and then the run volume again. More volume all over the place.
Yeah.
As we head towards ÖTILLÖ, the Swimrun World Championship in early September. I would say this was like our biggest week we've had in a while.
This was a big week.
It was a big week.
I mean, it was like 4 hours of swimming, which usually we're at like 2.5.
Yeah.
So it was good.
But it's a glimpse onto what it's going to take. A little bit more intensity in our runs, and a couple things that we've been switching up. Which, if you're curious about what's all going on with the Low Tide Boys and our journey to ÖTILLÖ, be sure to check out our countdown to ÖTILLÖ episodes. We just published month 4, so we're 4 months out for ÖTILLÖ. So this is month 5 and 4, and in a few short weeks, we'll be 3 months out.
Yeah, and you'll be able to chart. There's an inverse relationship with counting down and the increase in our anxiety.
Absolutely.
Right now, we're good though, so that's good.
So far, so good. So next up for us is Ödyssey's Casco Bay event on July 17th. Really looking forward to that one. Got all the travel booked, signed, sealed, delivered.
Yep.
Super excited. So based on our calculations, flip the calendars, carry the 1, divide, and then the durometer. That's 9 weeks away.
Okay.
What is that called? The
Denominator.
Denominator.
Yeah.
What did I say?
Durometer. I think that's like some part of the Ghostbusters plasma gun equipment.
I got to watch the Ghostbusters now. Anyway, specifically for Casco Bay, we had a great turnout last year at our post-race happy hour at the a brewery there, Pine Street. Anyway, we'll resurrect that, and then let us know. If you want a Swimrun shakeout, we could probably get that going too, because hashtag why not? Now, on to the most full shout-outs ever. Take it away, Chris. Go.
I find it really funny. Before we started recording, we're saying how long this intro is, and you're just
going
on and on.
Long-winded.
Anyway, it's our show. We can do what we want, right? We haven't given out any shout-outs for the past few weeks, so here's an outsized shout-out for our new patrons on Patreon. Thank you, Nick and Hannah M., Jeff H., and Dave D. for supporting our brand of super niche content and helping fund our random sticker giveaways, which, by the way, there's another one coming soon.
Yeah, we're just giving away stickers now.
Yeah.
We're like Oprah, but just only for stickers. No cars or anything.
Exactly.
Don't get your hopes up.
We also want to give a special shout out to fellow Bay Area swimrunner Jonathan Pasquale. Kind of a bummer, but he was recently diagnosed with stage 4 paraganglioma cancer, which is a rare and aggressive form of cancer, and he began chemotherapy and radiation last week. We met him at ÖTILLÖ Catalina a few years back. If anyone wants to help him and his family cover some of their upcoming medical expenses, his friends have set up a GoFundMe page to accept donations, and that's linked in the show notes. Great guy. He'll pull through. But gotta fight.
Now on to this week's Feats of Endurance. My name may sound familiar, but these feats constantly.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. Abby Rose wins this week's Feats of Endurance. She's been crushing some major open water swims lately, including the 5 Co's of Death swim in Aquatic Park, which is 5 loops around the perimeter of the historic cold water home of the Dolphin and the South End rowing clubs, and just so happens to be the official training ground of the Low Tide Boys.
True.
It was a casual 4-hour, 1,200-yard-ish swim, and she even swam in the green waters of Foster City. So nice job out there, Abby. This is all sans wetsuit as well.
Yeah.
Mind you.
Skins is what
Skins.
yeah. Impressive.
That's some serious cold business. Is that open water? 5 codes of death? Good on you.
A lot of stuff.
Now, head on over to Strava, search the Low Tide Boys, and see what all the swim runners and everyone else is doing as they train for life and stuff and swim run, most importantly. Now, swim run season's officially kicked off. So, our biggest this week in swim run to date, but there's still time for the theme song.
All right, welcome to the LTB News Desk. As Pipper said, we have a long one for everyone, so buckle in. Swimrun season is open all over the world, and we have a few weeks of races to catch up on. Here in the States, Swimrun Maryland took place last Sunday, May 8th, and we heard the water was really chilly.
I heard that as well.
Good times are still had by all. In Europe, there were a couple of races last weekend, including Swimrun Portugal's Lagoa Swimrun, which just looked ridiculously epic. I don't know if you've seen the pictures yet, but crazy. And the Anjou Swimrun, which also looked amazing. If that's not all, in the last few weeks since our last This Week in Swimrun update, there's been a bunch of awesome swimruns, including Swimrun Costa Brava and Swimrun Gorge de Verdun. Both of these events looked world-class, and there were so many podiums that featured a lot of our former guests, so we just wanted to do a quick shout-out. Victor Dahl, Alex Charrier, Hugo Tormento, Desiree Anderson, and Sabina Rapelli. Incidentally, Sabina and Desiree won the Swimrun Gorge de Verdun Ultra course, which was super long, like 12K of swimming, intense. Sabina was even bitten on the butt by a dog during one of the run legs through her wetsuit, and they still won the women's division and just came in third place overall. No big deal. Crushing it. And, I mean, that's some real swim running right there. You get bit on the butt.
I put that carbon fiber paddle down there and try to see if the dog can make it through that, not my ass.
Good thinking.
Yeah, you know me.
This is going off the rails.
It is.
In the bummer news department, like super bummer news, Brecco Swimrun has announced that they are canceling all of their events in the UK and New Zealand for 2022. This news might not come as a total surprise given the messages that have been coming out from their camp, but it's still a bummer. But all hope is not lost. 3D Events, which is based in Cambridge, UK, announced that they have been working behind the scenes and will be putting on the Jersey Swimrun on September 3rd, 2022. A lot of folks might be racing another event in a Scandinavian country around that time, but we're stoked that Jersey Swimrun race is going to go on because that's been on our bucket list since that's early on the super long list. So we really hope that keeps going. Finally, can you believe that? Made it.
Take
finally.
a breath.
ÖTILLÖ is just a week away from kicking off their 2022 season with their Swimrun Ute event, and both sprint and World Series distances have new courses. So it should be a fun adventure for everyone, whether you've raced it before or going there for the first time. That's it for this week. Feel free to reach out and let us know if there's anything that you'd like for us to mention on the show.
Yes, now for this week's updates, we have some discount codes for you all. So the awesome folks over at Precision Fuel and Hydration have set up the discount code LOWTIDE22, and that's good for 15% off your first order. Go in there, snag a bunch of stuff. I actually just re-upped my whole, I was down to the crumbs of my pH. Yeah. Re-upped, got some 1,000, some 1,500, a bunch of gels, the jumbo gels, and I'm even trying their little 30 drink mix I was telling you about. Might try using that at like the pool or something to get a little bit of hydration, a little bit of calories in to kind of keep the engine going. And of course, our friends at Ödyssey Swimrun gave us the code LOWTIDEBOYS with a Z, and that's good for 15% off your registration for any and all 2022 events. So the first one coming up is Ödyssey Casco Bay. We'll be there. Why don't you just register right now? Use the code LOWTIDEBOYS. You save 15%. Can't be that mad about that.
And make us look good.
Yes.
Which we're always trying to aim for.
That's all. We're always trying to look good. Well, there's the hair or looking good for our friends and partners. We're always trying to be there. Let's go chat with John Yelland from Mad Hatter Sports in the UK swimrun scene.
Yeah, it was really great to chat with John. in this conversation, we covered a wide range of topics, including his origin story for Mad Hatter Sports, how swimrun came onto their radar, the swimrun scene in the UK, and just a bunch of other stuff. It was really cool. I think the whole time I was thinking of Alice in Wonderland puns to drop in. I think maybe I got like 2 in.
It's tough. That's kind of I haven't watched that movie in a while. Need to re-up on it maybe.
Yeah, I mean, so we tried.
Yeah.
But hey, we seriously need to make a trip to the UK to do some of these races. I mean, they look awesome. It'd be great to just do a little tour. We could line it up.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening over in the UK on the swimrun scene. So we always get the best feedback from all of our friends and fans over there.
Yeah.
It's another one for you.
Yeah. John Yelland.
So what Alice in Wonderland?
Let's go down the rabbit hole.
Yes. Without further ado, let's head down the rabbit hole.
There you go.
With John Yelland, Mad Hatter Sports.
Yeah.
This
one makes you small.
I'm going to be late for a very important date.
All right. We are stoked to have the RD for Mad Hatter Sports, Jan. I was going Swedish. I was going Swedish on you. John Yelland. Welcome to the show, John.
Hi, how you doing?
Great. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on. We've been sort of following from the sidelines the antics of Mad Hatter Sports and your events and stuff, and they look great. And we'd love to get kind of an origin story of how you got into race directing and what made you start Mad Hatter Sports.
So there was 3 of us originally. There's only 2 of us now, unfortunately. But there was 3 of us originally, and we used to do triathlon and running events and all sorts of other events. And you kind of go to an event and you've spent, anything from £10 to £300, £400 for an event. And you kind of sometimes some of the events are really good and you have a great atmosphere, and other events are not quite so good. And we thought, well, actually, if we're spending £400 for an event and all you get is like a lame high five at the end and thank you very much, thanks for coming, we thought, we could do something better than that. So the 3 of us got together and we found a venue for an open water swim race. And the venue said to us, right, you've got 3 months to prove you can kind of do it. So we rushed around and found some flags and some gazebos from places and put the event on back in 2013, I think. And yeah, we had 60 people swim 2 kilometers. And that was our first entry into organising events. And that went, we felt reasonably well. There were things to learn, things to improve on, as there always is. And it's grown from there. So we now have 7 events this year, with the Hokey Cokey being probably one of the biggest of the, well, there's 2 big events, the Hokey Cokey and the Swim Festival. The Hokey Cokey will have about 350 to 400 people this year. And the Swim Festival is a similar sort of size. So yeah, we've grown over the years. COVID has obviously hit and things have been a bit slack for the last couple of years, but yeah. And the name Mad Hatter, we put a load of things into a hat, a load of ideas into a hat. And there were some random ones in there, some rude ones, and we felt that Mad Hat Sports with the Alice in Wonderland theme would give us some good ideas for events. Not that we've ever actually used them, but you can have all sorts of things Mad Hatter themed and Alice in Wonderland themed.
Oh, for sure,
Love it.
For sure.
Love
it. I mean, you can just go down the rabbit hole on ideas there.
Nice.
See what I did there? Yeah,
I like this. This is a good.
Yeah.
I like these puns.
I can make that joke because I'm a dad.
So am I. So I can make loads of bad jokes.
Nice. Your first organized event was a 2K open water swim. Where did the Hokey Cokey, or where did your first swimrun event come in, and sort of how did swimrun come across your I don't have a good Alice in Wonderland pun here.
Yeah. Okay. I can't think of one either. My brain's worried, but I can't think of one either. So we had a sponsor a few years ago. It was a triathlon multi-sport shop in Truro, near where we live, and they were tasked with trying to organise a triathlon. Actually, was the original idea in the middle of Newquay, which is a big tourist area over here in the UK, in the middle of summer, which was which was an interesting one. So they brought us in to try and help organise it. And the first thing we said was, doing a triathlon in Newquay in the middle of August is just, it's nuts. You know, the traffic is bad and there's so many people. So they said, well, what can we do? And I'd seen, I believe it was an ÖTILLÖ race on the TV. Don't ask me where and when, because I couldn't, but I'm sure I haven't just dreamt this. But so we saw an ÖTILLÖ race, or I saw an ÖTILLÖ race, and I said to the two other guys, John and Martin, I said, we could do something like this. And we came up with a course and proposed it, and everybody went, oh, yeah, that's a really good idea because it takes the bike leg out. The unfortunate thing is there's two things. The north coast of Cornwall is is a surfing kind of community. You're very dependent on conditions, so we were always worried about that. And then the whole thing became quite political and red tape and all of that kind of stuff with too many people involved. So we kind of went, let's move it. You know, let's keep the idea because it's a great idea, and do something closer to where we live, which is usually sheltered. So we kind of last minute, as per usual with us, kind of. I don't say this out loud, but make it up as we go along.
Secrets out.
Damn it. So we kind of come up with the idea. We found a course, thought of a name. I was trying to think of names, and the Hokey Cokey came up because we were in and out of the water a lot. That was in 2015, I think. And we had 50 people rock up. We had to beg, borrow, and drag people there. We didn't have any rules pretty much the first year because we didn't want to scare people off. And we allowed it was individuals only on the first year. Again, that was to not limit our sort of resource pool for entries by saying it's teams only. So we had 50 people turn up. And yeah, the day of the race was interesting because we went to the sea first thing in the morning and it was pumping through. There was a big swell and I almost died of a heart attack there and then. John and Martin dragged me away and kept me in a dark corner for the rest of the day. But we did it. Everybody got round. Everybody loved it. And it was great seeing people completely out of their comfort zone. So we had a few guys who were like very good triathletes, and to see them looking like, what do I do? Do I wear paddles? Do I put pool buoy or do I calf sleeves? What do I do with my shoes? What wetsuit do I wear? To see people that have done hundreds of triathlons in that state of mind was awesome. So he went on and won it, but he's never been back. So I don't know what that says.
Hey, might as well
although he's back this year. He's back this year.
Oh, that's nice. That's great. Yeah. So, so since that first race, I mean, you've seen some pretty big growth. I mean, you're saying this year you're going to have 300 some odd people. Like, that's amazing. Yeah. Have you and your partners done events like sort of outside of the UK to kind of figure out like what makes courses work well and things like that?
Yeah. So when we first put the Hokey Cokey on the first year, two of us, myself and John, Martin couldn't do it. We went to do another race in the Lake District, one of the Brecca races, Brecca Buttermere, which was a real eye-opener for us because we thought one of the things we like to do is if we're putting races on, we like to have either done the course, our own course, days before recce it, or go and do other events just to kind of get ideas and look at what other people are doing, what they're not doing, what they're doing well, what they're not doing well. And that's no criticism of anybody. It's just think people do different things in different ways. So, we went and did Brecca Buttermere, and we learned a lot from that. That was obviously double the distance that we were putting on, but we learned a lot from that. And we do try and go around the world. Obviously, things are expensive. And my wife likes to go to hot, warm places, and so does Martin's wife, and hot, warm places. So we'd like to go to Catalina. Is on our plans, but. That could be a challenge. I'm not sure how that would work, but so we've done a few. We've done one in Spain, done a load in the UK. But it's always interesting to see what other people do and how they put races on and how they build atmospheres around the event. Yeah,
so I mean I think it makes total sense to kind of see not that are even competitors. It's like, hey, there might be ideas that other race directors have come up with that'll just make the race experience for your participants better, which is great. Now, since we've had this show, which is going on like 2.5 years, a big fan base of ours is in the UK. We have tons of listeners there. It looks like the sport is really growing, and there's a sort of, the swimrun community in the UK seems to get bigger.
Yeah.
Is that something that you've seen sort of at your events, and where do you see the sport continuing to grow in the UK?
It's an interesting thing. So obviously, swimrun's a new thing. We were one of the first in the UK to put a swimrun race on, and at the time we put that on, I think the only other person doing solo races at the time was Love Swimrun, Chloe at Love Swimrun, Chloe and Johnny, and we got a bit of flack about that because people were saying to us that it should be a pairs thing and teams and all of that kind of stuff. So that's grown. The solo kind of side of it has grown massively, I think, and you can see that with every race now having solos. But yeah, it has grown. COVID obviously took a knock at it, but I think it'll grow again going into the next few years. And I think the growth will be towards the short course and towards solo racing rather than teams. We've got 2 events. We've got the Hokey Cokey Charlestown, which you can do solo or as a team. We've got another event later in the year, which is teams only, and that's primarily for not safety, but you're out there together. It's a long course, and you get each other through it, and you look after each other. But the UK market has grown quite large. There's quite a few sort of races popping up and here and there now. So, and when you go away to events, shows and things like that, you talk about swimrun, and everybody's heard of it. Whereas a few years ago, people were like, "Well, what's that? I've done a swim run." Oh, have you? Which one have you done? Well, it's just a swim and then a run. No, that's a swim run.
That's a swim then run.
Yeah, that's the kind of conversation we get into quite a lot. But now people are going, "Oh no, I've seen it on telly, or I've seen this and I've seen that." And one of the nice things is, me and Martin and our wives go down to Charlestown and have a coffee, and you'll see someone this time of year now starting to run around in wetsuits with swim hats and stuff and trainers, and everybody's looking at them going, "What the." Weird, but we know what they're doing it, and it's quite nice to see people training for our event. So I don't know where it's going to go, because it's I think, like I said, the short course and the solos really I think is where it's going to grow, because to do our Charlestown event, for example, the longer course at Charlestown is a couple of hours for the winners, probably 5 hours for the slower guys, whereas at Roseland last year the winners were 6 hours and the slower ones were sort of 8-9 hours.
That's a day.
That's a big old day and a lot of training to put in. So it's probably going to be shorter course that I think will grow.
Yeah, that
answers the question.
That makes more sense. It's a little bit more approachable, and something that we've kind of found a little bit is that I think people sometimes overthink the partner aspect of it. Like, oh, I have to find somebody that runs exactly my minute per mile or minute per kilometer pace and swims exactly my time in the pool, because that's the only way that this can possibly work. But in actuality and in practice, it doesn't have to be like that. You can have a pretty decent mismatch on both legs or one, as just kind of working together as a team.
Well, one of the things that we found is doing races. So I've raced with quite a few different partners now, but my 2 main partners were John and a chap that I race with now called Darren. And my first few races, I struggled massively because both of those guys are much better swimmers than I am. Mm-hmm. So on our first race at Buttermere, for example, we'd trained in the sea. We'd done so much training in the sea, got to Buttermere without paddles, without pool buoys, and it's fresh water, and I literally sank. We went from 4th place to 900th place in the space of a 300-meter swim. So you learn that kind of stuff. But yeah, absolutely. I think people are so worried about the team element. Oh, I've got, like you say, I've got to do this. I've got to have someone who's that fast. But actually, there are benefits. So when we race, Darren, who I race with now, is such a good swimmer that we can make huge gains. But that's one of the joys about Swimrun is we did the Isles of Scilly a few years ago, and a friend of ours was doing it with Lucy Gossage, and who's an Ironman champion, and they were overtaking us on the run, and then we get out onto the next run, and they come and overtake us again, and then we overtake them in the water, and that's one of the joys. You keep seeing people, and you have a laugh with them and stuff. So, but quite interesting. There's a lady swim runner from Sweden. She was looking for a partner recently, and I said, oh yeah, I might go and do it. And I said to my wife, thinking she's going to go, no way. So I sort of said to my wife, and she went, oh, you can go and do it. So I messaged her and said, out of interest, what sort of speeds and that are you running and swimming at? And she told me her speeds, and I was just like, no, I'm not going to go. You're going to end up killing me. As much as it would, as nice as it would be, you'd just kill me. But yeah,
drag you all over the course.
Yeah, I'd come back battered and bruised, I think.
Yeah, I've been on the receiving end of the dragging before, so I hear you there.
So you guys race together?
Yeah,
we also race together. So
we've only raced together.
That's true.
It's really interesting actually racing with different partners. So I've raced with 4 or 5 different partners, and every partner brings a different kind of element to it. One girl I raced with she just had a good laugh the whole way around, and the whole event was brilliant. It was just fun.
Yeah.
Whereas other people are ultra competitive, and you're literally dying trying to keep up with them, which is not my idea of fun.
Yeah. You have to line up you have to align your goals as to
definitely.
We're actually Chipper and I were talking last night that it might be fun to do like a race where it's like a team of 4 where you just like hang out with a couple guys, and you just you still try to move expediently through the course or whatever, but you're just like shooting the breeze the whole time, and doing it that way. It's just like a different way to experience a course. But with swimrun, it's like, there's so many ways to have that experience in nature, and I think it makes sense that the solo category and the shorter distances are just such a feeder, because if you only know like ÖTILLÖ or something, that's a daunting thing to think that that's the only thing that's available. And you see a lot, even like some really short course formats that are coming online. In Sweden they have the EX sprint.
Yes.
Super sprint.
Yeah.
Like this is like super fun, but it's you'll get your
like
ass kicked.
a 6-minute race or something.
Yeah, you'll definitely get your ass kicked. But it's great to see all these different formats. And in the UK, we hear from people all the time telling us of like the Ask Keena's Mustard events, you guys. Yeah. So it's really, really cool to see. I think there's an interesting point there about, swimrun's always been pairs or solo. Well, could you go up team of 4 racing, and you're tethered on the swims, and could that be an option, or a team of 3 and things like that, mixed teams, and it could be an interesting one to go higher numbers rather than. Well, we have seen a friend of ours. They recently did a race where it was 3 of them that were friends, and they basically did 3 solos, long course, but just stuck together the whole time. And I think they even tethered a little bit. I don't know if it was like a centipede, like the 3 of them tethering.
Caterpillar.
Like a caterpillar tether, but they were just like, hey, 3 of us who want to do it together, so they just did 3 solo distances and just like hung out the whole time, which was.
But we did
fun.
Something similar when we recce'd the Roseland course, because, like I said earlier on, we like to try and do them before we make other people go through the pain and torture. So 4 of us went and did it, and we started off as pairs, but in the end we just did it as a 4. So Darren led the swims, and we were all just tethered to him, having cocktails and lying on blow up mattresses and stuff while he swam. But it was great. It was a really, really great day. It was just like you say, fun and having a laugh and being out in nature. It's great.
Totally
awesome. When you see people kind of come in at either in the solo category or some of the shorter course categories, do you see them the next year that, they're coming back with a partner, or they're taking on maybe a bigger one, or do they just kind of like the shorter stuff and having a couple fun hours out there on? Yeah,
so it's a real mixture. We got people that come back and do our short course at Charlestown every year, and that's 10 kilometers, and they come and do it every year. They never progress up to progress. That's probably the wrong word, but they never go on to the longer course, and they're happy with that, and that's absolutely fine. They're paying the money; they can do what they like. It doesn't bother me. And then we've got other people who we saw come along and do the 10K course a few years ago and really out of their comfort zone. And last year they did our Roseland event, which was 40 kilometres, just under 40 kilometres.
Wow.
So you can see that progression. And that's really, as an event organizer, you know, it's an amazing thing to be part of that journey with people and see them progress from, you know, not really being able to swim particularly well to doing 9 kilometres of swimming and 30 kilometres of running. Is really kind of like humbling from a personal perspective. I know mine feels the same. You know, sometimes you get goosebumps from watching these guys come over the finish line at the end, and that's an amazing feeling, worth more than any kind of money, small amounts of money you make out of an event. So, but yeah, I think we do see people progress, but we also see people that come along, do it once again. I don't really like that, and never come back again. We had a couple of girls a few years ago. They entered the long course Hokey Cokey. It's a 300-meter run, then a 400-meter swim. They got 200 meters into the swim, turn around and come back, and it's like, well, that's the whole swim, that essentially. But they got out of the water and went, "Oh, we don't like it. We don't like swimming in the sea." And it's just, you know, and they've never come back. Never seen them again. So yeah, that's their choice. You know, it's fine, but it is a real kind of mix of people and things.
Yeah, I think it's hard for us to hear that because we've drank the Kool-Aid so hard, and we consider ourselves sort of like the chief swimrun evangelists for the Western Hemisphere over here. And like it's hard for us to imagine that someone would do a swim run and not think that it's super cool. But I guess that's possible.
I guess it is. We can maybe admit that.
People moan about like, oh, they see you with paddles and things like that, and they're, you know, they go, oh, yeah, you shouldn't be allowed to swim with paddles. You shouldn't be allowed to do that. It's wrong. It's cheating. Like, well, those are the rules, you know. in triathlon, you can have a bike that's £100 or a 10 grand bike, you know. It doesn't say what you can and can't. It says you must use a bike, but you can have a mountain bike. So that's the rules of the sport. If you don't like it, then don't come and do it. But give it a go because you'll love it.
Yeah. Now, you know, I'd love to talk a little about the Hokey Cokey that's coming up. By the time this show is released, that race is going to be sort of a couple weeks away. Yeah. Can you give us sort of like a, you know, like the Nickel Tour course preview of that race and what folks can expect?
Yeah, so I'll talk you through the long course because the short course is half the long course anyway. So, so we start off in beautiful little village with a harbour called Charlestown. We start with a very easy 400-meter run, 300-meter run. There's a quick 400-meter swim out around a buoy just to kind of separate the field. Then there's a bit of running, so a couple of K loop, all on kind of coast path, bit of road, stunning sceneries to the right with the sea and the closed path and the cliffs and stuff. And then you get back to Charlestown, you got a 1K swim across a couple of bays, and this time of year the water's not overly warm, so it's averaging about 13-14 degrees this time of year, so it's not overly warm, but it's not freezing cold. So you got a 1.1k swim, then you've got a beast of a 5k run, with some infamous steps. If you imagine a V like that, that's what the steps are like. They're horrible. And people were surprised by that, so we don't tell them about that. It's just a nice surprise.
We'll bleep that out of the
yeah. No, it's lovely. It's so flat. Everything's flat. There's no hills, no steps, no hills. There's no swimming.
Barely any swimming.
And then you get the same 1k swim or 1.1k swim back to Charlestown. And previous years, you've had an 800-meter run followed by another 1.7k swim, which is a really tough thing at this time of year, unless you're an experienced open water swimmer winter time.
Yeah.
Because you're essentially swimming 2.5k in one hit, which is no different to doing the 2.5k out of the Isles of Scilly, but we are slightly earlier, and because of the nature of what we're doing versus what ÖTILLÖ are doing out in the Isles of Scilly, we probably have less experienced guys, I guess, who maybe not so used to the cold. So we've had to change it this year because we've got coast path closures, which every event is kind of restricted by what's going on in the natural world, and people close bits and landowners say they can't do it. So instead of that, this year you've got a 4K run again along the coast path and along the golf course. So you have to duck the golf balls, but that's fine. Then you're in for a 400 meter swim. Sorry, 900 meter swim. I don't even know my own course.
Well, you changed it up, so you're still learning it.
Yeah. And then you've got the second to last run, which includes a 1 kilometer beach run in soft sand. That's horrible.
It's always nice at the end.
Yeah. So previously we'd do the long swim and then you're out onto that beach to run, and everybody hates that beach. Now you're going to have to run along that beach, then do the swim that everybody hates. So it's the other way around. And then it's like a 300 meter run to finish. So there's quite a bit of elevation in there. It's coast path, it's mud, it's concrete, it's tarmac, a
little bit of everything,
grass, a little bit of everything. Yeah.
Nice.
I love it.
That sounds like a blast. I love how you're not really pulling any punches with the course. You're just letting them have it. And
well, we tend to find, right, so that if you say to people, we've got a swim race, which is it's a 4 kilometer swim, just under 4 kilometers out around a rock. And the first year we did it, only a very small percentage of people got around the rock for various reasons. And we just thought no one's ever going to want to do that again. Mm-hmm. And it's nuts. That's what everybody wants to do. So now we just say, it is what it is. You've got massive steps, lots of climbing, tell them the brutal honest truth, and actually they're more likely to sign up.
Yeah.
People are weird.
Well, I think there's some to that, though. I think if you look at least definitely in the U.S., Ironman, which is sort of the big, obviously worldwide triathlon brand, like if they had their way, every race will be flat. Even the swims would be downhill or downstream if you could. Mm-hmm. And swimrun, it's not necessarily supposed to be easy. You're supposed to just deal with the environment that you're racing in. And for some people that's an allure. It's definitely for us. It's like, oh, this race is going to be hard and challenging. Like, cool.
Yeah.
Like I think we've only done a couple swim runs where we would call them quote unquote easy. And that's not because they were easy. It's just because, oh yeah, maybe it wasn't like you're crossing some channel of water and you're not like climbing 2,000 meters, in one go or something. But yeah, I think the lure of the challenge is might be responsible for that. I think.
So I think a lot of it is down to your ability as well. So we did an event a few years ago and up in Wales, and there's quite a big Cornish contingent went up there, and everybody from Cornwall got out of the water going, oh, the swimming was ace. We loved the swimming. We should have had more swimming. Everybody else was going, oh, I hated the swim. I hated it. Because, like you say, there was a couple of races. So there was one out in Sweden. I think even the Swimrun Costa Brava recently. Mm-hmm. There's some big swell. And, we get a little bit nervous about that because, it should be that we all just, as long as it's not risk to life. But, I think the rougher it is, the more experience you've got, the better it is, So our Roseland event, on the Charlestown event, all the exit and entries are on beaches because it's an introductory kind of thing. Whereas the Roseland, we've specifically done it so we've bypassed the beach so that we can exit out of rocks, and you've got to climb down ropes to get onto the beach or down to the rocks or. Nice. Because we want that kind of, that nature, that risk factor, that high kind of just being out there and experiencing that excitement of the race.
You're just getting able to do something that you don't normally get to do.
Yeah.
When you go on your vacation or whatever, you do come out on the beach. Like no one's climbing out on the rocks to get to the cabana. You just walk out on the nice sandy beach and head up there. And I think sort of Swimrun kind of attracts a little bit of that about people coming out to look for something totally different.
Yeah.
And
I love swimming. We have social swims all the time. Every week we have a social swim. A group of us go out, and I prefer it when it's a little bit rougher. You got to swim through waves, and it's just so much more exhilarating and fun than just a flat pond. That has its day, but I like it when there's a few waves.
For sure.
The merrier.
There.
Yeah, and I feel like swim runners, to like to come back to the Mad Hatter thing. It's like, we're all mad here, right? Like everybody at this party is
That's true.
It's like if you're finding swimrun, you're looking for something that's sort of outside of the mainstream. I mean, at some point, swimrun will be in the mainstream, I'm assuming, but at least for right now, we're used to it here where there's very few swimrunners, and we're the only swimrunners we see typically when we're training. And it's, we get all the looks, right? We get the We've mentioned this before, but there's like 3 types of looks we get. We get like the utter confusion look, we get the curious look, and we get the are you guys like Navy SEALs
military,
or something like that?
Special operation.
Just like a special ops situation.
And just take it done with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Strap it to your back and just run around with that.
Exactly. That'd be interesting in San Francisco for sure. But yeah, but it's like the more people see it, like you're saying, like now you see people in their trainers and running in their wetsuits, like along the shore. South Sea Swimrun, who we've had on the show, like those guys are saying that their community's growing and they have shakeouts every week. I mean, it's cool to see.
Yeah, definitely. It is nice to see people just experiencing it. And like you said, I think triathlon is very rigid in it. The way it runs and the way it is. So you've got a 10K run, 40K bike, and a 1.5K swim. Whereas swimrun, it's all kind of different, and it's not prescriptive. It's not flat conditions. So people do want that, don't they? They want that kind of experience, and I think people will grow to it because it has that link to nature and it's that fun team aspect of it. So I think it'll get there. I hope it does because I love it. I think it's such a great sport. Just to go and have a start at a place and swim and run completely naturally without not being in a race, just exploring the coastline. It's just amazing because you get to see places that you'd never seen before.
Totally.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the big draws, I know, for me.
Yeah.
Speaking. Yeah. It's getting out there.
Sorry, go on.
I'm running out of steam. I lost my thought.
It's early for Chipper in California.
What time is it there anyway? I didn't ask you that earlier on.
7:30.
Yeah, 7:30 in the morning.
That's fine.
Yeah, he's good. He'll be fine. He won't get fired from his job later today. He'll be good.
I might.
Now, let me ask you: Are you thinking that you might add more races? Once we're truly out of COVID, any ideas for expansion?
So I was asked in a conversation I had earlier today if, sorry, my laptop's going nuts. People messaging.
You're most popular dude.
Yeah.
They must have heard that you're being interviewed for the Low Tide Boys, the only swimrun podcast on the planet.
It's my day job, and it's I won't say it's dull, just in case anybody from work's watching. Oh damn it, I said it.
Yeah, don't mention that. Whatever you do.
Yeah. So I was asked this morning on a different conversation whether we would be interested in doing stuff because we only ever do stuff in Cornwall, and there's reasons for that. And they asked if I would do other stuff outside of Cornwall, and I would love to. But when you go outside of Cornwall, we've got a great community of friends and people that help us out in the events. That when you go 300, 400 miles away in the UK is quite a long way. You have to find that water support. You have to find those friends to help you out, and that becomes quite difficult. And with the events, some people have moaned. So I had a guy when we opened up the Roseland event, and I think it's £330 to enter the event, which is in line with all the other big events, the long events. So a guy said to me, "That's really expensive. That's really expensive. I'm not going to enter that." And I said, "So have you done?" Any idea what it costs or the effort required to put these events on? And he was like, "Oh yeah, I've done loads." Okay, yeah, all right, brilliant. So he obviously had no idea, but the amount of money that has to be spent on water support and things like that, health and safety stuff. When you go further afield, it becomes harder because you've got to bring all that in. Whereas in Cornwall, we've got a lot of friends. So would we put more races on in Cornwall? There's so many events I could put on in Cornwall because the coast path and is so pretty and so beautiful. We'd love to do. There's 2 things we'd really like to do. One is the lakes in Cornwall, but you're not allowed to swim or go in the lakes in Cornwall. unless you get permission, and then they want thousands of pounds to go in them. But there is, near where I live in St Austell, there's the old China clay industry. So you've got all these clay pits which are full of water. So some of them are hundreds of meters deep. And it's stunning, but it's a real alien world. So there's sci-fi movies and that have been filmed there. So we'd love to do one up there, but getting permission for that is just, yeah. But yeah, so we could. I've got loads. I really like the idea of that super sprint. Doing something like that would be ace. But yeah, who knows?
That's
my wife would kill me.
We're finding that here a little bit is we have a couple in the United States. We have a few kind of 5 or 6 big marquee kind of swim runs, and what we're seeing a little bit more of is kind of these little community, very approachable sort of entry level type swim runs coming in. I mean, we have one up in Bellingham, Washington that one of our good friends puts on, and then there's a few more kind of popping around, and it feels to us that's kind of the right way to help the sport grow a little bit more and gain in popularity. Is you're not going to get maybe 500 or 600 people at these events, but if you get 50 or 100 people doing a little very manageable swim run circuit, so to speak, kind of very similar to a sprint type or a short course, feels the best way to get the most people their feet wet, for a lack of a better expression.
Their shoes wet.
Getting their shoes wet, and getting started and kind of get that itch on them, and then they start looking for the other events around.
And I think one of the things that people said to me recently is, it's expensive because you've got to buy the kit, and there's expensive kit, and there's loads of kit. And yes, there is, but I liked it back in 2015 and 16. Not that I don't like it now, but back in 2015 and 16, where people were just turning up in all sorts of random bits of kit, you know, cut off surf suits, and they'd turn up with a bottle that they'd strap to their leg for buoyancy and things like that. And it was just, it was all kind of, everybody was making up as they went along. Now there's everybody's kind of jumped on the bandwagon and developing wetsuits and pool buoys and paddles, and there's got to be some kind of fancy stuff you can make there. One of the biggest things is the tether. Tying that tether back around you is the bane of my life.
It's our favorite aspect.
That's funny. No, it's true. I mean, I think we're always trying to promote like the DIY feature of it. Like, make your own pool buoy, like try out shoes that you have, like use gear that you have, because we're guilty of geeking out on the kit, right? Like we love the gear, and we don't see that changing or anything. But that shouldn't be. The barrier to entry isn't having a Mondo Euro pool buoy, right? Like it should be way lower than that.
Yeah, we actually did an entire episode. We'll put it in the show notes if anyone's listening. But budget swim run kit, and we had 4 swim run kits that each of us put together for under.
I think it was under
$200. So a lot of it's if you have a triathlon wetsuit, get your scissors out, cut it off above the knees. And if it's going to be warm, cut a short sleeve, and then use your trail shoes. Spend $20-$30 on a buoy or whatever, and you're pretty much ready to go.
But people keep asking, what shoes do I wear? What shoes do I wear? I mean, there's a lot of forums in the UK where people put, I've entered a swim run race. Can I wear this underneath? Can I? What shoes should I wear? What? And it's like, that was part of the enjoyment is going out and trying stuff and finding stuff, and getting in the water and swimming, and then realizing you've got 2 concrete blocks strapped to your feet, and and things like that. But I mean, it doesn't have to be expensive. You can make it up. And I must admit, taking a pair of scissors to a wetsuit for the first time is a scary place to be.
It is unnerving a little bit.
Yeah. I don't get this wrong. So I think we cut them really long. Tried them on. I know we'll take it a little bit shorter, and then a little bit short. Oh no, that's the right length.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to end up with the short shorts. Like the Daisy Duke level.
Swim run.
That'd be
swim run kit. Yeah, maybe.
I mean, that I'm sure it would look cute, but it's funny you mentioned shoes. I mean, shoes and socks are probably the questions that we get the most. Like, how do you not get blisters? Meanwhile, we've never gotten blisters from our swim run socks. And some of our most downloaded episodes are around shoe selection and how to deal with that. So it's definitely something that we see. And it's interesting. I guess that's not just in the US. It's like global. The people interested in swimrun are concerned about shoes.
Yeah, I think swimming with your shoes on is such a foreign concept for pretty much everybody that I think that's kind of like the big puzzle piece that they need to unlock for themselves, is like wrapping their head around the fact that, yeah, you do swim with your shoes on, but it's kind of a non-issue once you get
and
the
you
booty
run up
sore.
to like a marathon distance in a wetsuit, and and the worst thing about, or the funniest thing, whichever way you want to look at it, is the tan lines. They are awesome tan lines.
Yeah, it's worse than triathlon, which I didn't think that was possible, but it is possible.
Just the knees and the ankles and the short arms. Yeah, it's just. We did a race a few years ago, and on the way home, we stopped in a service station to get some food and drink and stuff. And there's 4 or 5 guys walking around with just brown knees, and you thought, "Oh, you've done the race."
That should be a new award. Worst tan line. You get a
Brown Knees Award.
Yeah,
Brown Knees Award. I think that exists. I'm not entirely sure.
Nice.
Well, John, we've kept you for a while here. Hokey Cokey is taking place May 21st in Cornwall. If you're in the UK or can get to the UK easily, definitely show up. Looks like a ton of fun. If you want some of the longer stuff, they got Roseland later in the year. John, thank you so much for taking the time and coming on. We can't wait. At some point, we're gonna do a tour of the UK, and we're definitely gonna hit up a Mad Hatter Sports event when we're out there. So thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, guys. Hope it wasn't too bad.
That's great.
You're perfect. All right, John.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks again. Have a good one, and good luck in the race with a couple weeks.
Thank you. Cheers.
All right. Cheers.
Bye.
Well, that's it for this week's episode. Thanks so much for listening to the show. Make sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and leave a review, since that's the best way to help other people discover the show and the sport of swim run.
Sign up for a newsletter at lowtideboys.com. That's boys with a Z. And check out our meme page at the Low Tide Boys on Instagram. If you have any suggestions for the show or questions for us, send us a DM or an email at lowtideboys@gmail.com.
We'd like to thank Riding Easy Records for our show music, and of course our wives for their support and tolerance of all our swimrun activities, podcast, and other stuff.
Yeah, other stuff.
Way
to keep it PG. Finally, you can support our efforts on Patreon. Until next time, get out there and go for a swim.
Go for a run,
Then another swim.
then another run,
And then another swim.
and then another run.
And then just keep going until you're done.
So you're done. Or maybe can't
And then
stop.
stop.